Former President Trump back in Washington, D.C. today, meeting with GOP lawmakers and saying that there is tremendous unity in the Republican Party.
We want to see borders. We want to see strong military. We want to see money not wasted all over the world. We don't want to see Russian ships right off the coast of Florida, which is what they are right now. That's unthinkable. We want to see just success for our country, and we don't have success right now.
With that, let's bring in Republican Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, who was at the House meeting and is reportedly on the Trump VP shortlist. He's also part of our new Fox Nation special, Anti-Semitism in America, which is Ben Hall's new Fox Nation special. Congressman, welcome. Good to have you here today. As has been pointed out, this was President Trump's first trip back to Capitol Hill since January the 6th. What was it like in that room?
It was great. You know, the president was really talking about his mission, his agenda. He talked a lot about wanting to make sure he could do everything he could to help House Republicans keep our majority and actually increase it, and what his personal time investments would be to helping members up here on Capitol Hill who are in tough re-elections, and also candidates who are in tough re-elections where we're trying to pick up seats to get some of the Democrats off of Capitol Hill and get our country back on track. That's what he was talking about. He also expanded in some policy areas, really thinking deeply about ways to make America great again, because we are a struggling nation right now with Joe Biden as president. And so he's taking the time to think through all those things, talk with the members of the House about them.
So, Congressman, there was a report in Politico today that says that the former president is demanding that Speaker Mike Johnson help him overturn his New York conviction. It says Trump was still angry when he made the call, according to those who have heard accounts of it from Johnson, dropping frequent F-bombs as he spoke with the soft-spoken and pious GOP leader. Quote, "We have to overturn this," Trump insisted. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I don't have a reaction because I'm not aware that this call even took place. I talked to Mike Johnson, it seems like every other day, not heard anything about this. So let me go back and actually find out what's happening here. Let me just say for the record, of course the president has a right to be upset. What happened in Lower Manhattan was a travesty of justice. And now you have the Democrats trying to have this moral equivalency between Hunter Biden being convicted in Delaware. What happened in Lower Manhattan was a violation of Donald Trump's constitutional rights. Nobody's above the law, but Donald Trump is not below the law. So if there are things that happen up here on Capitol Hill where we are funding departments that are violating the constitutional rights of citizens, no matter who that citizen might be, Congress has a responsibility to look into that and to act as well.
And what can Congress do about that?
Well, primarily, there's been talk about looking at some of the funding that goes to local jurisdictions that violate the constitutional rights of citizens, because all these local prosecutors, all these local areas, they all want federal funds. Well, if you're going to take federal money, you have a responsibility to protect the constitutional rights of every citizen. You don't get to pick and choose. And unfortunately, in Lower Manhattan, Judge Merchan and Alvin Bragg, they chose to violate Donald Trump's due process rights.
Yeah. We expect that Bragg and Colangelo will testify before the House Judiciary Committee. What would you want to, I know you're on oversight, but what would you hope they would be pressed on in that room, in that hearing, Congressman?
Well, I think the key thing is, why did they try to go through this scheme? And it was a scheme. This is important for people to understand. Why go through this scheme of resurrecting a supposed misdemeanor that has passed the statute of limitations using a federal election law, knowing that the FEC had already looked at this case, and they decided to proceed anyway? I think with respect to Mr. Colangelo, what lawyer do you know? I know a lot of lawyers in this business especially. What lawyer leaves a prominent job, being the number 3 at Main Justice, to go down to be a frontline prosecutor in some state jurisdiction in Lower Manhattan unless you have a political axe to grind? And also, have there been any communications between Mr. Colangelo, the White House counsel, and anybody at the Department of Justice? These are important issues to ferret out, because we are witnessing the political persecution of the Republican nominee by Joe Biden's Department of Justice.
All right. right, last question. These are the current names that we understand are on the VP shortlist. We know that the former president may have ideas of his own separate from this, but these are the ones who are the most discussed. And several of you were in that room today. Do you want to be the vice president of the United States, Congressman Donalds?
Oh, of course I would. But I mean, look, right now it's about making sure we get to our convention. We are going to make sure Donald Trump is our nominee. That is going to happen no matter what. And then it's about victory this November. I think whoever on that list or any other list that might come up, they're going to do a great job helping Donald Trump become the 47th president of the United States. That's the mission at hand. Whoever becomes the person on the ticket, that's just going to be to help Donald Trump get our country back on track.
So is this something like, I saw J.D. Vance was in that room. I believe Tim Scott was in the room. Is this something that you guys talk about when you're hanging out?
Nah, I think the only thing that kind of comes up is just like all of the palace intrigue and all the speculation. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump's going to make this decision on his own by himself. And he now has the true advantage of having been president for 4 years. Unfortunately for America, he had time away from that post. So I think he knows exactly what he needs. I look forward to that choice, and I'm going to support him no matter what he does.
Have you been vetted? Have you been asked for information?
That one I'm not going to get into. I've been very clear that whatever's going on in that process, I'm going to leave between the president and his team. Not going to get into it.
Okay, Congressman Byron Donalds, always a pleasure to speak with you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.